FM Rainbow, musically yours.
A very good evening, Bengaluru. You're locked on to Rainbow 101.3, and like I told you, there's something really special happening today in the studios because I have a special guest who's joined me, and who is he? His name is Manish Arora, and he is a writer who's at the brink of his debut launch. Or Manish Arora एक writer ही नहीं, but he also works with an MNC. Hello, good evening, Manish. Welcome to the studios.
Good evening, Priyanka.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. And I think it would be best to go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know more about why and what you're doing with us here in the studio on a Saturday evening.
Thanks so much, Priyanka. Namaste to all the listeners. My name is Manish Arora, and I'm born and brought up in a city which is located at the confluence of three rivers. Sangam. So I'm from Allahabad, and basically born and brought up there, and then did my management from Indore, and I started my corporate journey from Bombay, and it has been almost like 15 years of experience working with many big corporate giants, and got the opportunity to work with some of the finest organizations across the globe. I've also been, writing for the last almost 7.5 years.
That's a long time, Manish.
Yes, and it all, it's an accident. Writing happened to me.
Are you serious? I thought it was the other way around. I thought management would have happened to you by accident, and writers, to matlab, you were born with it, is what I thought, Manish.
No, not really, and it's a little funny story. It happened to me by some sort of an accident. In 2000 and late 11 or 2000 early 12, this book came in my hand by some sort of an accident, and this book is written by very famous author Julia Cameron, and the book name is The Artist's Way. And when I started going through the book, it talked about morning pages with certain promises. So the book said, if you start writing 3 pages every morning without fail, your life will change in 8 weeks. And I took the challenge, and I said, okay, fine, let me start doing that and see what happens after 8 weeks. So every morning I woke up, and the first thing that I did was I wrote 3 pages, with pen and paper. And I did that for 8 weeks, but nothing really happened in 8 weeks' time, except for one minor change in my life. And, I got hooked to writing, and I started enjoying it.
I think that's what a lot of books actually talk about, a lot of these self-motivation books and all of that. Even if it's as simple as losing weight, they actually say do that particular activity for the next 6 weeks, and you get habituated towards it, and you will make it a part of your life no matter what. And I think that's exactly what happened to you. Now, I think writing form is a part of you, correct? And if you don't do this, then it's just like you're not breathing, maybe, right?
I feel incomplete when I don't do, when I don't write, when I don't spend time. It has been, very long time since I've been doing it on a daily basis. And now it's part of me. And, when I did it for 8 weeks, I started, writing on a daily basis. And when I completed, I think, 2.5 years of writing, then I realized that, whatever I'm writing is taking the shape of a story, and that's how my first book was born out of that.
That's interesting. Hey, but you said you're from a traditional Punjabi family, and I thought Punjabis were all about food and never about writing. But hey, look at this. We've got a man in the studios who's proving us all wrong. And maybe food is not his first love, and it is writing that's his first love, right, Manish?
Well, Priyanka, I think I have a small point to make here. I think we all are very creative. Human beings are very creative in nature. We all have creative child in us. We need to give an opportunity to that child, to grow up with time. We have to coddle the child. We have to nurture the child on a daily basis. And that's how the child grows up and, shows the effect. For me, writing has been like that. There was a child in me, and I started, working with the child. And over a period of time, I'm surprised myself that the child has grown very, very quickly.
That's very interesting. Hey, Manish, It's been great hearing you, but for all you folks out there who are tuned in right now to 101.3, we still have Manish with us for this entire hour, where he's going to talk about more about how to maybe become a writer for all of those people who are tuned in right now and can connect to what Manish is talking about right now. We will come back after a couple of these songs and let's hear Manish giving out a message to all those to whoever is listening. I wouldn't really say youth, but maybe whoever is listening and who has that kida in them for writing. Maybe let's see what Manish has to say about that. And also, Manish, I'm very curious to know as to how you maintain a balance between your work life and writing. But all that and more coming on the other side of these two songs. Well, आप सुन रहे हैं Rainbow 101.3. अगर आप मुझे WhatsApp करना चाहते हैं, then my number is 9480901013. That's 9480901013. And in case you want to call me up, it's 222-81206. That's 222-81206. Keep it locked to Rainbow 101.3. Like I said, we have Manish with us in the studios, who's talking more about writing and creativity, and and maybe we'll get to listen to the man himself talking about a couple of books that he's written too. So it's definitely going to be an interesting conversation. He's with me here in the studios right up till 8 p.m. But abhi ke liye, नमस्कार बेंगलुरु, टाइम हो चुका है 7:31. आप सुन रहे हैं रेनबो 101.3 and my conversation is still going on with Manish Arora. Hey Manish, I must say that I looked at a couple of your covers and I saw that double I and double A. So are you like a person who believes, maybe you're superstitious and believes in numerology and all of that? Or have you always been like that? Or it's just because you have your debut coming up soon?
Well, I'm not superstitious, but I think, one of my friends suggested that, why don't you have a little different name, as, from a book perspective, a different author name. And it'll definitely be, attract some eyeballs. So it's a little, more of a fun rather than
more of a
superstitious.
technique to be like eye-catchy on those bookshelves, when your books are there all laid out.
Yes.
I'm sure, as I said this, I'm sure you must be already excited and imagining this bookstore with that bookshelf having Manish Arora.
Well, I started, the book that, I'm at the brink of the debut launch, and this book that I started writing almost like, 3.5-4 years back. And, I've been living this dream of, imagining my book on the bookshelf and on a podium, close to, inside a bookshop, on the airport and, at the railway station. Yep. So I've been dreaming about this for a long time.
And I think, my friend, the dream is soon going to come true. Like anybody else's big dream, and I think this is your big dream and soon going to come very true for you, and I wish you all the luck for that, but we're not letting you go anywhere yet.
Thank you.
Well, I have a couple of more questions, very interesting questions based on what you just spoke about in the previous link. Firstly, I think we're getting a couple of messages saying that it's so good to listen to Manish, who is actually talking about the books he's written and all of that, and I also have this interest or that kida in me to become a writer. What would you actually tip such people? What are the tips that you would give to such people who would be interested and want to take to writing, despite of they not being in that field, maybe doing anything else in life?
So that's a good question, Priyanka. And I think there are 3 things that every wannabe writer or any creative person, they have to really look into it. First is that you have to just write. The thumb rule is that you have to just write. It doesn't really matter initially what you're writing, how you're writing, or what time you're writing. You just have to start writing. And this is very similar to doing a morning pages or evening pages. You have to get up every day and write. That's the first thing. And when you write, you don't have to judge your writing. If you start judging your writing and thinking that, I've not written like Stephen King or I've not written like, Chetan Bhagat, that's not fair because you are judging your own writing, your own creativity. So I think first thing is just write and have fun writing. Second important point is that, you have to be professional in writing. And when I say professional, it means that take it as a job, which means show up every morning and write. Many times it happens that we don't feel like going to the job, to our office, and many times we are not well, but still we go to office, right? When you replicate that attitude for writing, it does really work. So even if you're not feeling like writing,
the unsaid commitment has to be there.
Yeah, and you have to show up every day.
Right.
There has to be a place inside the house where you can sit and write. And in our parlance, it is called as, a far-seeing place, where you sit down and see far, and which essentially means you imagine your story, your characters.
That's
so one,
interesting.
just write. Second, have a far-seeing place inside the house. Show up every day on that place.
Maybe your favorite corner in the house.
Yes,
It could
absolutely.
be anything.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's like temple. You have, a temple in the house or a synagogue in the house where you go and pray and worship every
Right.
day without fail.
Right.
Writing has to be like that. You have
Right.
to get to that corner or it's in that space and pray for it. I mean, which means that you write.
Yeah, work is worship.
And and then the third important thing is that you need to meditate. You need to close your eyes. And this is not just for writing. Any creative person,
I agree.
they have to spend 15 minutes closing the eyes and allowing the subconscious mind to take over and just praying that it should happen with them. So, for example, if I'm a writer and if I'm writing a story, a lot of people are intuitive writers. It happens to them. They don't go to that
Correct.
to that plot.
Correct.
The plot comes to them.
Correct.
So I think 15 minutes of silence, having time with self and looking inward.
And telling yourself a lot of positive things.
Yes, that
you
really
need
helps.
to have.
Helps.
Right.
Incantation and giving yourself a pep talk in the silence of the house does really work well. That's my suggestion for
That's really interesting, yeah, Manish. I think what you're talking about is not just for those writers. It could be for anybody. That whole thing of looking at yourself and maybe interrogating yourself and looking internal and questioning certain things. I think at that time it becomes a lot clearer in terms of what you want to do, where you're headed. And I think it's very important for a writer. Somewhere you have to be so clear in your head to just let those thoughts just flow by on that piece of paper. When you sit with that pen, right? So I think that's really good tip. And I think for all those people who want to be maybe building on that creativity and maybe who say that, hey, I'm not creative enough, I can never write. I think if they have to really look at the tips that you have given and maybe implement it, it's really going to make a big difference to them, right?
Yes, and creativity and introspections are very closely related. I mean, I have not come across any creative person who has never been introspective. And I think looking within self is the most important aspect of being creative. And unless you're not looking within self, I feel that it's going to be more superficial.
Correct. Hey, but Manish, another thing that caught my attention when you were talking about is that if I'm not wrong, you do work with an MNC, right?
Yes, I have a day job.
Oh my God! So how do you manage the two things? Because writing is not like you just do it for the sake of doing it, or you maybe it's a commitment, like you said in the beginning, and maybe it needs you to just sit down. Let those thoughts flow by smoothly, and you can just write it whatever is flowing. So how do you maintain that balance?
So there are two aspects of my answer. First one is that there's a mathematics behind this creativity, behind writing, and that mathematics is that you decide the number of words that you write down every day, every morning when you write down, or whatever time that you write down. Let's say and I will give an example here. So Stephen King is one of the famous writers. He wrote 1,000 words a day without fail. And there are some writers who have a weekly quota of, let's say, 7,000 words or 10,000 words, and they complete the weekly quota. I essentially have a quota of 200 words a day.
Good.
And essentially I write more during the weekends on Saturdays and Sundays. So I've given myself a quota that I have to do this at any cost. I have to achieve my weekly quota. So that's a mathematics behind it.
Okay.
So if you're writing 200 words a day and you write for an year, it will lead to 2 novels.
Correct.
From your writing perspective. A novella or a novel is close to 55 to 60,000 words.
No, that's a fact.
Yeah, so when you're writing 200 or 300 words a day, over a period of time it accumulates and give you a novel, a shape of a novel, right?
Correct.
So that's one. And I think for me it's initially when I started writing, it was not easy to balance between job and my creative excursion.
Correct.
But I think over a period of time I've come to learn this, that we have to make small sacrifices. And I think a lot of people use their Saturdays and Sundays in a different way. For example, they go out, they spend time outing. I have come to learn that if writing is important to me, I have to keep writing ahead of these things. and I spend a lot of time during weekends to write, sacrificing the other aspects of life. And I also, every morning I get up, the first thing that I do is to write. Maybe it's just half an hour, but before the office grind starts, I spend half an hour early morning to write. That's how I've been able to, form a equilibrium between job and writing. And one other small point here, I think if you look at the famous authors, they never had this luxury of going to a mountain or a snowy place to just write.
Correct.
They all were in the job.
Correct.
And they had a tight schedule. And they all managed writing with the day job. So I think if writing is important to you or creativity is important to you, whatever you're doing, you will definitely find out some time for it.
To do it, yeah. And that's a very good piece of advice, Manish, I must say. And yes, we are going to actually continue talking to Manish. And that's Manish Arora with us in the studio. In case you've just logged on, we have Manish Arora, who is actually soon going to debut his book that he's written, maybe soon this month. And he's in conversation with us to talk more about how writing happened to him and to a message to all those budding writers. So all those budding writers and people with creative juices, looking forward to writing are tuned in right now. Hard work, commitment, dedication, discipline is what Manish is, spelling loud and clear only on Rainbow 101.3. We are going to continue with the playlist this evening, and the conversation with Manish as well will continue. Keep it locked to Rainbow 101.3. Abhi ke liye, I've got the title track of Chupke Chupke in the voice of Lata Mangeshkar again coming your way. And I've also got a song from the movie Katti Patang in the voice of Kishore Kumar. This one's called Pyar Deewana Hota Hai. These two songs coming your way. And in case you have any questions for us, do let us know. The WhatsApp number is 9480901013. That's 9480901013. Some more interesting aspects to be covered in terms of writing with Manish Arora ahead of these two songs. Keep it locked to Rainbow 101.3. Time ho chuka hai 7:51. You just heard that song in the voice of Kishore Kumar on your Rainbow 101.3 megahertz. Well, I have Manish Arora with me in the studios. Hello, Manish ji.
Hi, Priyanka.
I hope you had a good time talking to us.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of our listeners have been enjoying the show. I think you've really given some good tips to a lot of those budding authors and people who want to take to writing, but maybe are afraid to just take that step and go ahead. And some of the tips that you have given is more of a self-start, I would say, for all those people, and nothing to do with, get panic and start thinking कि मैं लिखूंगा तो कौन देखेगा, कौन पढ़ेगा, क्या होगा, and all of that. But it's just about, it's as simple as just getting up and start writing and be committed. Right, Manish?
Just one point for people who really, want to embark on this journey. I think you are just one decision away from an entirely different life. And that one decision has to be that you have to show up on a table and chair, take a pen and paper and start writing.
Yep. Dedication and commitment, what it is all about, people. And Manish, so what's next in store for you? What's happening in the next few days? I think you're very, very excited when I asked you this question. So, agle kuch hi din mein, what is going to happen that's maybe going to change your life, I would say?
I hope so. I'm very close to, my debut fiction launch. And this book is called Sunshine Town. 24th of December.
I have seen the cover of the books, guys. I must say it looks very interesting and very flashy.
Thanks so much, Priyanka. So 24th December evening, the book is going to be launched.
That's
and
very nice.
I'm looking forward to it. Yes, I'm excited, but at the same time nervous because, it's a debut launch and you don't know how people react to it. But I'm looking forward for, post-launch feedback from people. There are a few people who have read that book, a close friend and the editor who has worked on the book. They have given very positive response to it. They said it's a very simple book, but it's very uplifting in nature.
In a nutshell, Manish, if you have to talk about what that book is all about, maybe just create that curiosity for our listeners to go grab that book from that bookshelf. Maybe in just few words, if you have to say what that book is all about.
So the story is of a teenager. His name is Shlok, and the book has
interesting.
Yes, the book has two parts. First part is about a romance. So there is a girl, Natasha, and she lives in the neighborhood of Shlok, and They both like each other, but in the first half of the book, they keep on questioning their own feelings. That is it love or is it infatuation? So that is, written in a witty form, the conversation between them. And then the second half of the book is Shlok's struggle to build a good career.
Okay.
It has a happy ending, and there are two underlying themes in the book. One is when Shlok goes through turbulent times, whether it's in romance or it's in career building, he questions God, he questions divinity, and he keeps on questioning the gods, and he asks that where is my plan? Why have you sent me on earth without a plan? That's one underlying theme. And then the second underlying theme is the mother of this kid plays a very important role, keeping Shlok grounded whenever he goes through tough times. So it's a very simple, linear, young adult fiction. Part of it is romance and part of it is, focused on career. But it has certain uplifting and deeper meaning to it.
Okay. That's very interesting. I think two major parts of any human being's life is what is being covered in this book. And I think it's going to be a matter of interest to a lot of those people who are listening to us right now. Manish, once again, I wish you all the very best and good luck to your forthcoming book, which is going to be released in a few days. And I hope that's a good Christmas present for you. All right.
Yep.
And what's the way forward for you? I'm so curious to know, because you work with an MNC. Are you planning to just move to writing full time, or how's that going to be?
No, not really. I'm very passionate about my job, the role that I'm doing in office and in my organization. It's a critical role, and I'm extremely satisfied with the way my corporate journey has chugged along in the last 15 years. So what I plan to do is to create a balance the way it is right now. I will, maintain that balance going forward. I'm working on additional projects from a writing perspective. So I'm looking forward for a couple of more launches in the times to come and balance it out with my, with the corporate job that I'm doing.
Okay.
At this point in time, I have no, thought process that I will move completely into writing. I think I'm very happy with the balance that I maintained.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's really good.
Yes.
And I think that's really important, just to have a full-time job and keep doing something parallelly that you're so passionate about, and that's exactly what you're doing and setting an example for so many people. But just out of curiosity, when you were talking about Shlok, is Shlok Manish?
Well, there is when I said earlier, I mentioned this point that you have to look within. And I think all the, famous and well-established authors, they have said in the past that, if you have to write something, it has to come from within. And that's where, it creates authenticity in the writing. So yes, there are instances, there are areas of this book which are inspired by...
Which has shades of your life in that book,
yes,
right? That's very interesting. That's one question I've always, been curious about the writers, that do they somewhere related to your own life? But I think you can just do it with one book, two books, but not more than that. And I think you have lot more books to come your way, and wish you all the very best. And it's been lovely having you in the studios, and thanks again to be here and giving us company for the last 1 hour.
Thank you so much, Priyanka. I have to really thank everyone, the whole team of All India Radio for having me here.
Yep.
Really appreciate this gesture. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And ye aakhri gana aa raha hai in the voice of Mohammed Rafi and Lata Mangeshkar. You're listening to Rainbow 101.3. Time ho chuka hai 7:57. It's time for me to take that little break and come back again sharp at 10 p.m. But until then, it's Sneha giving you company between 8 and 10 p.m. Keep it locked to Rainbow 101.3.